Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm gonna be giving you part 14 of What If Naruto Was the Greatest Puppeteer. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto traveled to Hoshirama's time over at Anime King 2, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping and support, and yeah. Without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, as Jiraiya was trying to get Naruto to rest, but Naruto was going after Pain. As Jiraiya decided to tag along as well, as he found Hinata, as she was able to chuck the chakra system straight to Pain hideout. As they found him there, as Naruto was, well, he was a bit surprised, as he saw the real mastermind, nothing but a skeleton, controlling the paths that destroyed the village. As they talk, as Pain started to talk about his stupid ideals, it made Naruto rather furious what this man was thinking about. How stupid and idiotic could he be? As a battle then broke out, as Pain summoned the Gedo statue, as Naruto and Hinata start to attack as well. Jiraiya wastes no time as he enters stage mode, as he was able to slam a Rasengan into Nagato, ending his life. As Nagato was already frail to begin with, so the Rasengan took his life. As Jiraiya told him that he will handle the body, to make sure these eyes don't fall into the wrong hands. We then had a time skip, since the whole event, 2 years, as Hanabi was graduating from the academy now, as she was looking forward to meet her Jonin sensei as she got on a team with 2 others, as she was surprised to see that Naruto was her Jonin sensei, as his arm was different, yes, he had a puppet arm that was well advanced, as they made their way towards the training field for him to test them, as Konoha had fully rebuilt, new buildings taken in place after the attack with Pain, as Hanabi and her group started to think of ideas to attack Naruto as Naruto had a new puppet with 9 tails, and none of them, no matter what, could get past it, as Naruto was able to substitute one of the members along with it. As Hanabi was surprised that he was able to do that with the puppet, she knew that he could, but with the puppet? As the battle went on, as none of them could even get close, as Hanabi realized something, the real meaning of this test, as she ended up knocking her 2 teammates out with a Senmon, as Naruto simply sighed, she couldn't have done that a long time ago. As they went to the tower, as Naruto had spoken to Sarutobi, he didn't want a team, he wanted Hanabi on as apprentice. But he had to fully assess their skills, as Naruto showed back a detail to the Hokage, as he accepted that, as Hanabi became Naruto's apprentice. As Naruto thought about the things that he did in the past 2 months, as he's been looking for the other members of the Akatsuki, not knowing that the masked man was killed by Itachi sealed away into his blade, as a few other members hadn't been heard of. He also killed Konan. Well, she didn't have anything to live for anymore, as he injected her with something that gave her a quick and painless death, and it went quick. After knowing that Nagato was dead, she told him to kill her because if she didn't die right now, she's going to spend the rest of her life hunting him down and trying to kill him, so he got it over with. As Naruto took Hanabi on her first mission at C rank, as he told her that D rank are always boring. So yeah guys, so it's basically that's what I thought. You guys can switch across the place and check out for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. So, what do we know about Land of Fangs? Naruto asks, as he was resting alongside the carriage, as there was only a small space for him, and being the Jonin, he called Jonin privilege, and she was a student as well, so she was walking long-time neutrality to the west of Hainokune, in a constant state of feuding with the Land of Claws, serve as one of the buffer state between the sand and the stone. Main exports are precious stone, a special kind of silk, and copper, which funds the nation large food sustainability, thanks to their general lack of farmland. No hidden village outsourced most of their business to hidden stone, and a bunch of uncolored logistics, the young man in the carriage said, as Hanabi was surprised to find out that he was a cousin of the daimyo, a distant cousin, as he was just 18 years old, but he was already turned into a slob. like most daimyo, that arrogance that they had. There must have been some reason they were chosen for this assignment, those in Hanabi, trying to make the man talk even more because Naruto was asking her a bunch of questions whenever things got quiet. I was not assigned to do anything, child, he said, with a huff. But for your information, daimyo simply trusts his affair to the best people he can. Trust him. It can be really bothersome to be this brilliant, you know, he said. I'm sure, she said. Although, he said, between us, I wonder what the daimyo is thinking these days. The palace is practically at flame with the numerous decisions he has taken lately. I mean, a political envoy to the land of Fangs. We haven't spoken those swines in decades. Just about when the feud between them and the land of Claw came in, said Naruto, as he kept the eye on his surroundings. Precisely, such petty conflicts are far beneath us though. But he has been off his game recently. Well, who could blame him? With the passing of his wife, as Hanabi turned towards Naruto, the daimyo's wife is dead, she asks. Naruto shrugged at news. Has not left the capital yet. The matter is still under investigation by Konoha, and they won't keep it a hush-hush until foul play is ruled out. Well, you could have told me, you know, she said. Oh, I'm sorry, he said. Would you also like to know that Lightning Daimyo enjoys breakfast rather spicy, or that the latest in noble fashion is fabrics? Rather silk fabrics because Daimyo accidentally wears bathrobe to a court meeting the other day. Wait, he did? She said in surprise. Just how much information you get through that network of yours? He just gave her a smile, as he was not giving away anything. Never mind, she said. Well, it wouldn't be out of character for him, given that his wife just passed. Well, it's not, said Naruto. I had met him a few times and he's kind of... He waved his hand and one of the samurais that were near them spoke. He's a buffoon. Yes, thank you, said Naruto. Non-existent guard that I didn't just hear say anything. The samurai took the hint as he went quiet. Being so disrespectful of his superiors could get him in rather hot water. You met the daimyo, the noble said inside. As that was rather surprising, the daimyo barely deal with any other shinobi except for the Hokage. Twice, actually, said Naruto with a grimace. The first for a mission and the second, as he coughed in his hand, as Hanabi saw red marks on his cheeks. For a mission, he said. The noble hummed, unconvinced. What did you say your name was again, Ninja-san? He asked. Uzumaki Naruto, said Naruto. As he rolled his eyes, they have already been introduced. Ah, yes! I had thought the name being familiar. So you're the performer. Puppeteer, said Naruto. Quite the same thing, is it not? The man asked. Unfortunately, before Naruto could say anything, they came to a halt. As Naruto pushed off the wagon, as he withdrew a stroll, Hanabi, eyes. She activated her Byakugan and blinked. She was surprised how quickly they were surrounded. After all, she was checking every 5 minutes, and her vision now covered almost half a kilometer in every direction. 10 of them, tuning at best, as that was based off their chakra levels. Those became difficult around Naruto, who burned with so much light, it made everyone else look like Jennings. As Naruto flexed his hands as he looked at her with a grin, like to say, what are we waiting for? She quickly withdrew Kisai, as Inari poofed into existence as well, as it made her puppet look quite, well, bad when it comes to Inari design. It was so complex and neat, but hers were just, well, ordinary. The first thing she noticed was no headband, as they had dark hoods trying to conceal their identities. As Kasai approached the first of them, the man drew a tanto from his back as he held it strangely in a 2-hand grip. As she saw that he was used to a much longer blade, she was going to use that at her advantage. But before she could get close though, Inari appeared and slapped away the opponent with her tail, as she rushed off to another one. It wasn't even a contest. They might have the chakra of tuning, but they didn't move like them. In a flash, Inari incapacitated all 10 of them with pure speed alone, not even have a tap into any of her weapons. Hanabi got rather frustrated. Naruto-sensei, she said, you didn't leave any for me. What are you talking about? He said in confusion. We got them all, didn't we? She just grunted her annoyance. It's a C rank, sensei. We know that you can do everything easily, but how am I going to learn if you deal with everything for me? I'm your sensei, it's my job to protect you. Why would I put you at unnecessary risk? You just don't get it, she said, as she walked off muttering about overbearing sensei, as she went to check the other ears for any more ambush. As Naruto turned to the samurai that spoke before, his eyebrow raised. I'm not being overbearing, am I? Sensei are supposed to protect their students. I thought that was how it worked. Well, I don't really know how shinobi do things. Seeing that Naruto was listening to him, he spoke more. But with the samurais, such behavior would be counterproductive. To coddle a soldier, that will make sure they're killed later down the line. My master trained us hard and then put us in dangerous situations, so that when the enemy attack, it will be easier to protect ourselves and fight back. So you're saying I should let her fight people she might not be ready for? The man shrugged, I get so. But isn't it also the sensei job to have faith in your students? As Naruto hummed at that, it was true. When he was a kid, he always threw himself in dangerous situations. But he was trying so hard to get away from that cold, callous person that he was. Was dipping back in that side of him was for the best here, as he was sure that he could just flip it off so easily if he dipped back into it. As he thought about it as he walked over, as the samurai had already gathered up the bandits, he whipped the hood off one as he found nothing. No headband, no insignia, nothing. A few more hoods came off as Naruto could tell that they were from the Fire Nation, but not from Konoha. But as he tore off the last hood, the samurai behind him spoke up. Genji? The man stepped forward. I know this man. He's a part of the Daimyo's legion. A samurai then, said Naruto as he looked towards samurai. What would samurai be doing attacking the fire? Noble procession. Never matter. A diplomatic mission. For all he knew, this was just a personal grudge. He didn't really understand. Why would they be attacking them? What do we do now? The man asked. Inari picked the man up and placed her on his shoulder. As she walked off into the forest. Simple, said Naruto. We get some answers. The guard looked uncertain. He's a samurai, ninja-san. Whatever you do to him, he won't talk. As Naruto smiled, as he let his canines peep through. Oh, we will see, he said. Moments later, Naruto found Hanabi, totally not sulking, as she knew that he was there but she didn't even turn. I'm guessing you interrogate one of our attackers. What is it now? You're gonna leave me here to keep watch. You're right, said Naruto. I should have let you test yourself against some of the attackers. She turned and rolled of her eyes. It's not just that. It's all the question. All the constant lecturing. You're treating me like some kid that doesn't know what they're doing. It's the fact that you haven't even let me try. One of the things that made me being your captive was so tolerable is that being with you actually felt like being free. I was free to learn what I wanted, train what I wanted, but all of a sudden, you now turned into my father. I might as well be back in the compound. You know, I already said you were right. Don't push it. As she glared at him, it might have been intimidating if she wasn't a foot shorter. Look, I admit, I might have been a little overbearing. For the last couple of years, I've been trying to make up for all the shit I pulled when I was younger. But sometimes I feel like no matter what I do, it won't be enough. I don't even know how many deaths are in my hands, unintentional or not, because of that war. As he ran a hand through his hair, uncomfortable, sharing this much, it just wasn't something that he did. Because of it, I haven't been treating you like a student. I've been treating you like someone under my protection, a client. But I know the best way to keep you safe is make sure that you can protect yourself, and constantly get in your way. He's not going to do that. God, sometimes I wonder if Kakashi knew what he was doing when he was so flossy about our training. Look, for as much as you being a student is new, being a teacher is new as well for me. We're sort of learning how to do this at the same time, so I admit. All I know is puppets, and an increasing long way of knowing how to kill. And also a lot of useful information thanks to your spy network, she said. Yeah, and that he said. I'm sorry too, I just saw you protecting me like that, and it made me think about how overprotective my family can be at sometimes. I probably overreacted a bit. You're a good teacher, but I get that you're used to control every variable. And having a loose cannon like me is probably frustrating. I wouldn't say frustrating, he said. You know me, Hanabi. Probably than anyone else alive. If I didn't want you as an apprentice, you wouldn't be. I chose it, so you know damn well I'm going to be the best master I can. Even if it takes a bit of trial and error. You know that I'm still not going to call you master, right? She said that smirk. Worth a shot. So, what know what we're up against? He asked. Time skip. Hanabi was crouching a tree, as she was using her beacon to scout the area. She thought that Naruto giving her command was a bit extreme, but she couldn't deny it felt thrilling. And after telling him her plan, he listened carefully, and he enjoyed it. The samurai said that it was unnecessary, as Naruto had showed that he could defeat the rogue group with just one of his puppets. As both of them turned towards him and told him that he did not understand ninja. So they were going to Hanabi's plan. It turns out that the man that Naruto had interrogated did not know why they were attacking this convoy. It was not random though. But there was a captain that gave him this order, and it was the captain that they needed. And Hanabi had made the plan to get the captain. The remainder of the samurais were guarding Noble as she glanced back to make sure that nothing was going on as she could see farther beyond. But right now she was focused on the scene in front of her. At the exact same moment as a couple of the patrols were making their way back to the camp, she whistled, making a bird noise. When the patrols came back, they weren't alone, they were double. As one of them turned, wait, who are you? The samurai started to panic as he had double gunners. As the samurai captain came from his tent wondering what was going on as he heard all the shouts. What's going on here? One of the man clone, or what, she could not tell, point at his double gunner. Dirty shinobi trickster to cause confusion in her ranks, I've seen before. As he moved forward and swipe, as the man vanished in a poof of smoke. As they didn't catch it as fast as Hanabi did, that was just a transformed dummy that swiped at the man. And the one that he swiped at was the real guard that was pulled underground and a smoke bomb to show that he was a clone. Yes, a fake clone. Chaos immediately broke out as the samurais turned on their comrades. 3 men caught off guard got sliced down by their own friends, thinking they were imposters as well. As the dummies then turned towards them and started to attack as well, causing more chaos and havoc. Meanwhile, Kasai was slittering across the ground, making his way towards the captain. The man sensed something as he sensed a flow of chakra. He spun around and brought down his blade, but the blade simply passed through one of the wires, as he was expecting a human. Kasai then swallowed him and wrapped around his body, as Hanabi could twitch one of her fingers to kill him or paralyze him. It was a strange situation to be in, as she had to force her fingers to stay still, as the dummies took care of all the guards. Only then she dropped down, as she walked towards the captain, grinning at a flawless, completed plan. She could see how Naruto grew addicted to this, planning something and watch it just work out in front of your eyes, something that you created. Geiju. As Hanabi spun around when she heard that, as she saw a blade right at her throat. It was about to take off her head, but it was already stopped by Naruto attaching the wires to the man. As Samurai was playing dead, and he was about to take off her head. Lucky enough, Naruto had connected the wires to the man, stopping him in motion. It was because she got too arrogant and not focusing. Some lessons, like no plan is flawless and never drop your guard, need to be learned the hard way. Said Naruto as a samurai brought his blade back up to his own throat. But not that hard, said Naruto. What the? Said Naruto as something strange started to happen. Where his chakra strings had connected to the man, white patches started to appear until the man's body shifted into a strange, white-like creature with green hair on top of his head. As it struggled against Naruto's hole, before letting out a painful grunt, as it turned into a tree. Hanabi and Naruto were wondering what the hell was going on. As she voiced it, "What the hell?" "I have no idea," said Naruto. Adopting that expression, Hanabi knew that he had some sort of idea. He was still figuring it out, as he turned back to the captured captain. "And we need some answers," he said. The rest of the mission passed peacefully. Unfortunately, the motive behind the attack was unclear. The captain just seemed corrupt, but Naruto was unconvinced that was the full extent. As the captain had hired out his forces, yes, because he was corrupt. He didn't even know who his employer was. He just got paid and he hired out his forces to do their job. As he got a letter for what to do, and then he burned it. All he knew was that he was supposed to attack this group, making sure everyone was dead. He was told nothing about the shinobi guard, as Naruto wondered who the benefactor was, and what was going to happen when the young noble was killed. Was it a message? Was it war from Land of Fangs or something? Had the noble pissed off somebody he should not? Unfortunately, the kid seemed rather clueless, as did the captain as well. By the time they came back to Konoha, Naruto was complex as well, as not even he understood what was going on. But the interesting thing was, 3 more of those men had turned into white creatures after he pumped his chakra by his attack into them. He also shared this with Saradobe, but he did not tell him that he sealed away their corpses and brought them back with him. They were much too interested and he wanted to get some testing on them before he sent some samples to the hospital. They were a bit organic after all, and he wasn't the best on studying DNA, unless that's something to do with poison. As he walked through his doors, as he tossed his flat jacket onto his bed, already he felt like he wanted to just fall on it and fell asleep. It had been late when they came back, and his stomach was filled of celebration ramen for Hanabi first complete his secret mission. Hopefully, the first of many. As Naruto sat down, he got information from his clone that bobbed into his head. Nothing interesting to note, but some things that passed by him before now stood out. The noble words and how different daimyo's been acting was now in his mind. Ever since the man's wife passed, taking with her that demonic cat, he has been making more sappy decisions. As Naruto chalked it up to grief though, but he couldn't help but agree with the young samurai. The man was a buffoon with the things that he was doing. This was far beyond grief, this was stupidity. As Naruto caught sight of Akatsuki, well, the blank thing that he placed for Zetsu, all he had to go on for that was such rewards that he was some plant creature and he was a cannibal. As he wondered if it was Zetsu that he stumbled upon. No, it couldn't be because he got multiple of those things. And he didn't think a member of the Akatsuki would be so weak. As he wondered if they were a form of clone technique. But then again, what kind of clone actually died? Still, he couldn't work on his sleepy mind as he made his way towards his bed slowly. Get some sleep. Months passed on as thoughts of the plant man drifted in the back of his mind with new things coming up to the front. He did learn something about them, but the only thing that he could put close to that was the first guy he monkeyed on. But that was unless the first Hokage had an intimate relationship with a tub of white slub. For to make these white mans, because that is what they were made of. Basically, trees. The hospital still hadn't got back to him with anything conclusive, so it was put on the back burner. Instead, he focused on his training as he went through C rank after C rank. As each mission progressed, he felt comfortable taking the back seat and letting Hanabi do her thing. He was always there, but he tried not to get in her way. But she still came to him and asked him for advice, and he was always willing to share. As Naruto knew that there were a lot of ways to come up with a plan, and his might not always be the best, so that is why he listened to her. On the training front, it was not much the same, as he found out that Puppeteer was not like other style. Other from the basic, he could not really teach much. Once she knew how to craft and reconfine her puppets, it was up to her, how she trained them and used them. He was more of a mirror, something for her to test herself against. As she was getting better though, as he was the one that provided tools, but she decided how to use them. Currently, they were on their way back from a mission. All they had to deal with was a few bandits, as Naruto didn't even have to lift a finger. How would you feel about entering Chunin exams? Naruto asked out of the blue. Wait, seriously? As she glanced at him to make sure this was not one of his jokes. He seemed genuine, but she could never truly tell. You think I'm ready? She asked. I think you're more than ready, to be honest. It's a question of not whether you think you're ready. I won't lie, Chunin exam can be dangerous. But as you are, I can't think of a chance that he can throw at you that you would not be prepared for. Don't worry, there's still not for another month, so there is no rush. I thought you need to be in a team to participate, she said, clearly avoiding the answer. You do, but there's a system for that. Teams don't make it to the exams after all. Individuals do. Teams that have members that get promoted had to be paired up. Ebisu actually approached me about asking you to fill up the gap on his team. With Udon and Moki, she said, as she knew them decently. They were a year above her in the academy. Notice she thought about she remembered Konohamaru bragging about his promotion. I suppose that could work, she said, despite she not being used to operating in team. You'll have time to get used to them beforehand though, if you want of course. So that would be it for us then. That's how it worked, right? I become a Chunin and you no longer be my teacher. He placed a hand over his heart. I didn't know you felt that way, Hanabi-chan, he said. Are you trying to get rid of your dear sensei already? She slapped him on the arm. Shut it, idiot. I thought you were the one trying to get rid of me. He rolled his eyes. Hanabi, you're not just my student, you're my apprentice. There's nothing stopping us continue our training after you're promoted. Hell, have you seen the way Jiraiya acts around the third? Sensei once, sensei for life. Oh, she said. Look at you. Acting like you don't have anything else to learn from me. As long as I'm still kicking, I'm going to be the master of Puppeteer. She hit him again, avoiding his eye. Shut up, she said. I get already. So it's not as big of a deal as I thought it would be. So she said as she looked up. Where are they being held this? She noticed his grin had vanished. She barely had time as he pushed her away from a large snake that burst out of the ground. He may not be the fastest shinobi around, but his reflex were superb. As he kicked off the snake's lower jaw and launched himself above it as he observed it carefully. As it continued to come out of the ground towards him. As he pointed his hand towards it, as he had a cannon launcher, as a tube came out of the device, a small tube. A white hot stream of fire then burst out of it that turned blue. The snake was incinerated so quickly that he did not have time to return to the summoning world. And Naruto made no mistake, it was definitely a summon, as no snake could grow to that size and sustain himself out here. As he landed back on the black grass. So who pet this was? Unless he done something bad to Uncle Mirashi without knowing it. There was only one other. Chuckling could be heard. That did not even force you to use one of your puppets, a feminine voice said. How disappointing, I suppose I'll have to try harder. Now won't I? As Naruto stepped between the voice and Hanabi without thinking. You know, I always thought that you have some hiss in your voice. Or is that a bit too cliche for you? Orochimaru slipped out of the tree lean, with a smile on his face, eyeing up Naruto up and down. So quick with the whip, aren't you, Naruto-kun? You remind me so much of Jiraiya. As Naruto eyebrow twitched at that. I hope not. I don't like getting myself beat up every day by angry woman. You shouldn't be so quick to dismiss my teammate. As much as it pained me to admit he's an incredible powerful shinobi. As are you, he says, he focused on Naruto. I never expect you to be so efficient with your chakra control that you could manipulate your puppets without even moving your fingers. Now I understand why you were able to do my old partners. Thank you for that, by the way. The Akatsuki's was a real nuisance. As he glanced at the ground. Are we really going to continue with this? I can see the trap that you're setting rather clearly. As Naruto stared again, his transparency. His eyes then went wide and he noticed Orochimaru's eyes shifted into the Sharingan. Do you like them, Naruto-kun? I suppose I owe you my thanks in that regard. Once, I struggled to get these eyes because of the Akatsuki out there. But, with them now blown off into the wind, it's rather easy when you have someone that can give you An eye and ear everywhere. Isn't that right, Zetsu-kun? As something slid from the forest. An entirely black being with green eyes. I believe that we agreed to keep my presence as a mystery, Orochimaru, he said. His mouth did not move, but he spoke. Now where's the fun in that? I like to lay all my cards on the table, like these cells you supply me with, to reduce the rejection to 0. Why, I couldn't have done it without you, Orochimaru said. Then stop wasting time and forfeit their end of the bargain, Zetsu said, in a rather impatient tone. All in due time, Zetsu. I do believe Naruto can have something to say first. A figure came from the ground behind him, parching the earth like water. Inari was already spinning around her claws extended. Orochimaru blocked them with a kunai, grinning wildly. Inari then brought her foot up, as she was about to axe kick him, but she twisted her body as her tail smashed into him. The ground under his feet exploded by the force. Even Zetsu was pushed back by the explosion, but Orochimaru looked unperturbed. He was still grinning. Oh yes, this is quite marvelous. I've been wanting an excuse to test these eyes, and I suppose you would do just fine. The moment Inari's feet touched the ground, she vanished. Hanabi could only watch on. She saw the fox puppy move fast. She has never seen Naruto use her to such an extent before, as she realized that he was holding back a lot in her training. As she was a blur of motion as he clashed with Orochimaru, but nothing she did could slip past his guard. His eyes were blurs as well, tracking the puppet and blocking her strikes. As Naruto had a look of intense concentration that Hanabi has never seen before, his fingers flicking. Inari then struck low as her feet slashed out to take Orochimaru's knee off. He moved deflected, but her tail then came whistling down. As he brought a kunai to block it, other tails then came at him as he jumped away. But the moment he did, Inari was on him like a blur. She lunged forward, pouncing at the animal that she was based on, with her arms extended. As her fingers detached, she connected the cables. As she swung them forward, they would have ensnared Orochimaru, but he extended his tongue towards a tree and pulled himself away. Another one of her tails whistled around as Senbon spewed out of it, ripping through the air as fast as possible. Orochimaru ducked and dived as the trees were shredded to nothingness. But that wasn't the purpose. They were bringing him to a certain direction. He passed by a tree. Before Naruto could set the tags off, Orochimaru slipped into the ground and appeared beside Zetsu once again. My, he said, his eyes shifted, back to your usual golden look. You have grown strong, haven't you, Naruto-kun? That was most informative for myself. These eyes have already picked apart the weakness in your construction though. Each tail holds a separate function, but you can only use one at a time. As Naruto said nothing, he could control all tails at once, but not all their hidden weapons at once. So far, it was not an issue, and he hoped to overcome the limitation before it did. But I believe I already have everything I need, Orochimaru said. Zetsu turned to him. What are you talking about, Orochimaru? You promised me the Jinchuriki. Orochimaru patted Zetsu on the shoulder. Oh, Zetsu-kun, you should know who you're making deals with. I am far more intrigued with you. Zetsu tried to say something, but he was stopped, as seals went across his body, freezing him in place. All of this was a distraction to catch you off guard, and it worked wonderfully, don't you think? Orochimaru smiled as he licked his lip. His tongue was rather large. Ever since the Akatsuki, I was dying to know what made you tick. Without the threat of pain hanging over my head, I have all the time in the world to understand you, my little friend. As he glanced towards Naruto. Apologies for deception, Naruto-kun. I hope you understand how these things go. Do continue to grow stronger though. I'm curious to see how far you can go with such a hobby. He grinned, seeing the comment tick Naruto off. But if you're thinking about following me, I think a gift is in order. As his hand came out, Inari shot forward. I don't think Orochimaru says he was faster. As Inari slammed into a thick grey coffin that rose on the ground, not even denting it. She skipped back as it opened up, as a single figure came out. Its skin was ashen grey, but that seal across his forehead. Hanabi froze. Uncle Hisashi, she said, in surprise, and confusion to what she was seeing at the moment. As she only ever seen this man in photos, the man simply blinked, until Orochimaru stepped forward and forced the seal intact in his head. The cracks across his body sealed up, and the color returned to his skin. What's going on, he said in confusion, and coughing, sank back into the earth behind him. Enjoy the family reunion, Orochimaru said, as he lunged forward and swallowed Zetsu whole. Not even looking bloated from his meal, he flickered away. Inari wasn't idle through this though, as Naruto was used to seeing disgusting things. As she rushed forward to stop Orochimaru, but she crashed into a rotating chakra dome. As she jumped away, the spear of chakra, looking like an oversized Rasengan, came to a stop as Hisashi was at the center. My body moved on its own. What's going on here, he said. Uncle Hisashi, is that really you, say Hanabi? He only had to look at her once as his eyes widened. Hanabi-chan? When I saw you last, you were just a newborn in your mother's arms. You've grown up so much, and you You've fallen to the curse of Hyuga as well. No, she said. Things are better now, uncle. Look. As she gestured to her seal, as he saw a difference between his own. Dad has changed things. The seals is no longer subjugation for us to use as tool. It is a symbol of our unity. Hayashi said. Wait, my son, Neji, he asked. Unfortunately, said Naruto as he stepped in front of her. The original seal cannot be removed. It will take time, said Naruto. I remember you, Naruto Uzumaki. Are you Hanabi sensei now? It really has been a long time. It has never settled well with me, the village, treatment of you. I always saw the similarities between the Branch family and your burden. And your concerns appreciated, said Naruto dryly. Then it's true, I'm dead. This is some strange technique. I had feared this much when the technique took my body under control. Even now, I want to fight the both of you. Even before my death, I've heard of Orochimaru's monstrous deeds. But of course, the death back to the world like this. I apologize for this, he says. He went into a Jayugen stance. But it seems I have no choice. Hanabi stepped forward, she drew her puppet from her sleeve. Hanabi, stay out of this, said Naruto. But he turned as she saw the ferocity in his eyes. She found her voice absent at the moment. As your sensei, I order you to stay out of this. It's too dangerous. As she stepped back, at that moment, he's actually lunged forward. But Iniri slammed in from the side. Her tails came around, striking fast, as his arms started to blur as he blocked them. In the next instant, both of them planted their feet as he started that Taijutsu match. After his training with Hanabi and Hinata, their practice, Naruto knew almost everything about the Jayuken. Still, fighting Hisashi was at a whole different level than his niece. It was clear when Neji had inherited talent, as he had to make sure Iniri's hand were up there with her speed because Jayugen stance could cut off the puppet circuit system because chakra was flowing through her body. He could flood her points and restore them, but it would cause precious moments in the fight, and he couldn't allow a moment to spare. As one of her tails came up over her shoulder as the both of them were locked in Taijutsu, as she released a jet of fire, he jumped back or twisted his body for the rotation. But Iniri released her technique once he started to spin, as she launched forward and jammed her nails right into the center of the dome. As she started to split it as she crushed her feet into the ground. It was enough to destabilize the rotation as he was thrown back. She then rushed forward and pinpointed him at each point of his body with her tail, stabbing through him. Uncle Hanbi called out, but he just smiled at them. Thank you, he said to Naruto. I couldn't imagine the pain it would have caused me to fight my niece. But he didn't feel anything, any kind of release. But his body started to heal. Wounds that would have been fatal. As he moved back, he was shocked. Just what kind of technique is this? I don't even feel tired from using rotation 2 times rapidly. I know I heal from wounds that should kill. A troublesome one. Let me help, said Hanabi. I said no, said Naruto. I have this. I just need to take my own advice and think. Literally. As he could not kill this man. And from the comments he made, he had an extremely large pool of energy to draw upon. What would happen if he destroyed the entire body though? No, it was better to assume if he could heal from mortal wounds. Nothing was off the table. So what did you do with something you could kill? Well, if only he knew how to seal a conscious human. Before he could say anything else or think anything else, something shot past him. It was Kasai, Hanabi's puppet, as it curled into a ball before throwing its body at him, as it exploded into a wave of fire, blue flames. As Hisashi had to look away, as his vision was overloaded by the pure chakra. She used the hesitation to get her puppet close as she slipped around his Jayugen. But he struck out though. But he was unused as his fingers went through the form, going through the wires, not really hitting anything. As the puppet latched around his body completely, as he was trapped inside. Hanabi panted at Naruto's side, smiling defiantly. Expelling so much chakra at once, always drained her. But she knew how blinding it could be from a Byakugan from that rage. See, she said, I told you I could. Hanabi, be careful! As Kasai exploded outwards. Before his feet even touched the ground, he was flying forward as his fingertips were laced with chakra. Get back, he shouted! But Hanabi was frozen in place. Her puppet was destroyed and her uncle was coming towards her. She would have stayed there if Naruto didn't push her out of the way and put himself there instead. I'm sorry, but you're in my field of divination. He lashed out, but Naruto's artificial arm was already there to take the strike. 2 palms. As his reflexes were good enough to take the blows in the prosthetic. 4 palms. As Naruto stepped back. 8. He couldn't get to say that one. As Iniri came behind him and drive her tails down. As she spin kicked him and sent him sailing as he smashed through several trees. He was forced to stay there at the ash, sway around him, healing gaping holes. As Naruto flexed his arm, flushing chakra through it until the points opened up back. That would have seriously hurt if it was still flesh. Good for something, huh? He said. Naruto sensei, Hanabi tried to apologize. I said stay back, he said. This time his tone showed that there was no argument behind it. As Hisashi was already back on his feet as he dashed forward. As Iniri was on all fours looking like more fucked than human. As she dashed forward as well. Blades came from her forearms and her tails turned stiff. With spikes all over. As she moved like a blur ripping through his guard. As she batted away Jayugan with her hands. As he fired a blast of pure concentrated chakra, blowing the two of them back. She slammed her hands into the ground, tearing through it as she was thrown back. But she was not hurt one bit. As Hisashi tried to move but he could not. What happened, he said. He couldn't even move his head down, so he used his Byakugan to observe himself. He was shocked to see seals crawling across his body. Whenever he tried to move, they forced his body back into a paralyzed state. As Iniri made her way towards the immobilized Hyuga. Besides, said Naruto, it's not like I carry around seals to stop immortal zombies. This is a quick version of the seal array. I used to control some of my earlier puppets, only reverse. When you put chakra in, it halts movements instead of causing it. As he set up for a thankful smile, seeing that he could not nod, and since I continued to use chakra, it immobilized me. As Naruto nodded, as Hanabi came over her head low, I'm afraid that is all I can do. I have no idea how to cancel this. He looked towards Hanabi, at least it was not all bad. I found out that the cursed seal has been gone, and I get to see the young woman my niece has become. As he grew, a amused smile on his face, as headstrong as her mother, never willing to sit back when there was a fight, if she thinks she could do something, although you should listen to your sensei. As he looked towards Naruto, thank you for taking care of my... He closed his eyes. It seems Orochimaru has released a technique. I can feel his hold on me fading as we speak. It was good to see you, lit the firecracker. If you could, tell my brother to forgive him, and let Neji know that his father still loves him and to walk in the light, proud to be a Hyuga. And with that he dissolved, leaving behind a white Zetsu, the vessel for his soul. He allowed Hanabi and Min to process everything before turning, and going back to Konoha. There was no point pursuing Orochimaru, who was long gone. Come on, time to go, he said. As she did not say anything, she just followed behind him. Time skip. Every time she tried to speak, the words died in her throat. As Naruto was in front of her, as he hadn't even looked back. They were not even hopping through the trees, they were walking. As they arrived at the gates, she could no longer take that she rushed in front of him. As she stopped in front of him. Just say it already. I know you want to. She might have preferred some anger or anything else, but he looked at her coolly. What do you want me to say? That you disobey me? That you didn't trust me? That you endanger yourself despite? I told you I have everything under control. As those words started to sting her. I just wanted to help. To do something, she said. As she started to lose her grip a bit. The only way you could have helped there is to stay back and let me work. And that's why I couldn't, she said, in anger. As she knew that she was near the gate, and her father might hear about this if anyone passed by and heard about it. But she couldn't care less. Because it was just work to you. That was my uncle, my family. And he could have killed you, said Naruto. Is that what you wanted, being killed because of some misplaced sentimentality? You'd have wasted all that effort I poured into you because you didn't realize how outclassed you were there. She recoiled from that. Is that all I am to you? Some project you put some work in. As her head lowered, you haven't changed at all, have you? When you said you come to enjoy the mass, I thought you were joking. But you don't even get it, do you? You think you're trying to do good now, but you don't even know what good is. You're changing the subject, said Naruto. This is about your lack of trust in me. The both of us had already had that conversation about overprotectiveness. So when I tell you to stay back, it's because I know it's too dangerous. Don't you get that, he asked. I do, she said. I really do. Because I see now, you don't care at all. You're just motivated by numbers and guilt. I'm just an asset you find more valuable than most. Because of the work that you put in. Do you even care about teaching me? Am I just some kind of experiment? Before he could respond, she turned and ran away. Straight towards the village. As he grit his teeth in frustration. As he sighed, not really thinking, he just stepped forward as he bounced right into something, and he bounced right off. As he was grabbed off the ground with ease and lifted up in the air. You. He has never met Senju Tsunade before, but the description were flat on. Blonde hair in ponytails. A green jacket with a kanji for gambling on the back. A small blue diamond in her forehead, and of course, her enormous. Tsunade brought him higher before slamming him into the road. When the dust cleared though, all that remained was Dame. From behind her, the woman behind her, Shizune, looked around. From the destruction that she already caused. Lady Tsunade, you can't just attack Konoha Shinobi like that. I agree, said Naruto, as he walked out. Somewhat strange introduction aside, is there something I can help you with, Lady Tsunade, he said. I think I would have remembered getting into your bad graces, and I also have something to do. Like hell they're walking away after what you did, she said. And what exactly did I do? As he had no idea why she was angry at him. My grandfather's cells, she said. Or didn't you think that the hospital would tell me that someone came in asking for Hoshirama tissues? Ah, well that explains his exoclones. He was somewhat miffed that the hospital went over his head, contacting the nearest biological, person that was related was the best way to go about this when find something like this, especially with Keiki Genkai. But he thought he had enough sway in the hospital to at least be warned, but he did not. But he didn't do anything wrong. Fine then, he said. Let's get this sorted out. As she relaxed a bit, as she did not expect that reaction. When she got the letter that her grandfather's cells had turned up in the labs, it had brought back sense of when Orochimaru betrayed them, and the sick, twisted things that he did. But he was just calm about it. It was a bit disappointed. She was itching for a fight. So much so that she came all the way back to Konoha. As they made their way in the air, Tsunade hears and said, with a smile on his face. As she snorted, he probably already knew that she was here before she even stepped anywhere near the village. What do I owe the unexpected pleasure? He asked. Apparently, she said, there's been some misunderstanding that need to be sorted up. And I'd like to get that over with as soon as possible so I can get back to my life. As Naruto scoffed, she glared at him. Got something to add, runt. Firstly, he had a good 4 inches over her. Secondly, what? Your life of drinking and gambling away every respect that you gained in your glamorous career. As he turned to Sarutobi, as he was already irritated by this. I agree though, can we get this over with? I have not done anything wrong, and I have something I need to deal with. What? Said Tsunade. Your little student run out on you in a huff. At the moment, Naruto was not watching his mouth at all. Did the sight hit a little too close to home? Did it? Or is it the fact that this is the first time you've been in the village since you deserted 2 decades ago? It just slipped past you so quickly. You got something to say about the way I choose to live my life, she asked. You call that junk in haze you stumble around in, living? He asked. Her knuckles cracked as Naruto flexed his good hand, neither of them flinching or backing down. As Nadia started to release her chakra all around, making her a bit suffocating. But Naruto's chakra started to release and got rather potent as he mixed it with the fox chakra. As Hiruzen slammed his hand on the table. Stop it, the both of you, he said. I have enough genin coming to his office every day without having 2 of my strongest ninjas acting like genins. Tsunade, I understand your reasons, but in my office I want you to act with the maturity I know you're capable of. And Naruto, just what has gotten into you, he asked. Naruto sighed. Sorry, it's been a long day, he said. As Tsunade's lip twitched as she wanted to say something, but Hiruzen gave her a glare, so she did not, as he waved away the envoys that had come to protect him, just in case. Your immature dispute aside, I believe we can start to get to the heart of this. Hiruzen was cut off as a sword stabbed right through him. As he looked down the sword that was emerging from his chest, the envoy there quickly jumped away as he blocked a strike from one of his comrades, but he was caught by wires that lashed onto him. As Naruto done that on reflex as he was staring at Hiruzen, and his hand just lashed out, the other envoys grabbed him and pinned him down as Naruto caught Hiruzen. As Naruto realized poison, someone like Sarutobi wouldn't be reacting this badly to even some of the things that he came up with. Medics, he shouted. He wanted to kill himself when he realized just who he was sharing a room with. As Naruto turned towards her, she was frozen. Her hands were shaking as light blood was spattered on them. Sarutobi's blood from the stab. As she was hyperventilating. Well, god damn it. The world's greatest medic, and possibly the old man only hope, had hemophobia. As Shizune rushed over though, as Saruto was going into shock. As Naruto got up and punched Tsunade right in the face, knocking her right in her ass, breaking out of the shot that she went into. Her first reaction was surprise at being struck, before it turned into anger. She didn't get a chance though, as Naruto was in her face. Get your ass in gear, woman! Your sensei is dying over there. That override everything else as she rushed over. As she started to work for a few seconds before she cursed. I don't recognize this poison. It is countering my effects to heal him. As Naruto pulled out a kit, as he took a swab from Sarutobi's wound, black lines started to come across his skin, only held by Bay from Tsunade healing. As Naruto quickly analyzed the poison as quickly as possible. It was unlike anything he has ever seen before. It was unlike most of the stuff he has been working on. As he threw caution to the wind, knowing that he didn't have much time and work on a hunch, as he added a drop of his own blood. As the thing turned a pearly white, as he pulled out a syringe and stabbed it right in Hiruzen's chest. What the hell did you just do, she asked, using her mystic palm to find out what he was just injected with. Immunosuppressant, said Naruto. Are you trying to kill him faster, she asked. She would have raced across to grab Naruto, but she was already hand deep as she was reconnecting tissues. This poison is animal based. It was corrupting his own white blood cells, altering them to attack its own tissue, to kill them from the inside out. Snappy didn't know what to say after that as the wound had stopped, resisting her healing, as Hiruzen returned back to a calmer state. That's not the same thing as a cure, she said. That stopped the poison from doing its damage. Believe an old man without his immune system. But it buys us time, said Naruto, as it might have saved him from the poison now. And also the stab wound through the chest that still need to be worked on quickly. And also, he was at risk of infection or anything because of the immune system. In the meantime, said Naruto, as he looked at the Anfu, why did you do this? He recognized this man. He was one of the Hokage's guard for years. His mask was taken away, as he had mostly brown hair. With a light scar under his left eye, he was glaring at Naruto. Fine, said Naruto, don't say. I'd rather pull it from you. He then noticed a small twig coming from the man's shoulder, as his stripes came from Naruto's finger and lashed out to the man. As the man's body changed into the white humanoid with the green hair. Zetsu, Naruto growled. As Naruto's prosthetic arm shot out, as threads came from it and attached to everyone in the room. They were confused until the last guard started to twitch as he dropped to the ground in pain, as his skin turned pale and white. He thrust the kuna and pierced right in Zetsu's head. As Naruto sighed, the last time he ran to these things, they were samurais. He thought they could just make themselves look human. He didn't realize they could imitate people right down to the chakra signature of all things. Okay, said Snappy. Just what the hell are those things? Long story, said Naruto as he came back over. And not the biggest concern right now as he looked at Sarutobi, who looked far away from that door right now. As Naruto looked over the man, before his eyes went towards one of the white Zetsus. This was bad. Time skip as the medics had sterilized the lab. As Naruto was in there as he sent a clone home to get some of his equipment. As it was now, even a small infection would kill Hiruzen, but it was better than his body attacking itself. The poison in front of him continued to turn and just mix. It was more like a disease instead of a poison. It was drawing in enzyme from the host body and spreading and multiplying as fast as possible. If a disease could use chakra, it would look like this. That was a terrifying thought. But it seemed like the poison was directed to work on Hiruzen's DNA alone. No chance of spreading, but much harder to cure. If they didn't find a proper way, it will destroy his immune system for good. In any other position, you'd love to study this poison at this time, but this was not the moment or the place. Take it, Jerry greeted, as he would lean against the door. I told you to stop calling me that. Jerry walked over. Medicine and poison had never been his thing, but the man seemed rather reserved though. Well, given the circumstances. How goes it? He asked. In a word, badly, said Naruto. This enzyme Orochimaru uses is incredible, unlike anything I've ever seen. How do you know that it was Orochimaru? Well, he was the last person Zetsu was seen with. Naruto gave him a flat look. As Jiraiya sighed, I always thought if he would have tried something like this of being person, I guess after a fiasco with the Chunin exams, he decided on something direct. As he clenched his fists, I was there to help Sensei back then, but not this time. As Naruto returned back to his work, you can hardly go around protecting the Hokage all the time. That is what his guard is for. Although, consider someone impersonating his bodyguard did this. That was a moot point. Jiraiya grunted, but he didn't say anything about it. So what made this such a tricky poison? I never seen Haim so stopped before. She was off, conducting her own experiments as he spoke. As she and Naruto agreed that tackling this from two perspectives, medical and chemical, was the best way to get some results. And the fact that they couldn't stand in the same room as one another. The hostility after he had full on punched her right in the face. Well, it was a bit much. Like I said, it's this enzyme. It draws energy from the host body to replicate. As he swapped a small piece and held up to the man, watch. As he placed it down in a leaf, wiping it on it. Nothing happened for a moment until a part of the plant turned yellow, and the poison started to spread. You ever seen something like that before? As a matter of fact, yes. It reminded me of when I tried to use Sage Mode in a limited area with limited natural energy. Sage Mode. That's the thing you use when you kill Nagato, right? Jiraiya flinched at the reminder, but he nodded. Seems someone done their homework. What can I say when something intrigued me? I found out about it. So you're saying this enzyme is drawing in natural energy to work? As Jiraiya just watched the plant until he stayed still. As his features started to change. Before they returned back normal, definitely natural energy, he said. But unfocused, poorly molded. Is there anything you could do with that, Naruto asked. Jiraiya shook his head. What about you? Knowing this, is there anything you can change about it? He wasn't sure because he was not familiar with natural energy. Maybe, he said. I don't know. I would need an active sample of the enzyme for comparison. Without the ability to reappropriate so quickly, they might be able to flush it from the Hokage system. Then it would be a matter of allowing the man to recover. Jiraiya slammed his fist into his palm. Now I remember why these talk about enzymes seem so familiar, he said. I might just be able to help you out there, he said. Before he turned back to Naruto, oh, This isn't what I came here to talk to you about. The man became rather serious, as Naruto was unnerved by that. It seems Orochimaru had just more than killing the old man in mind. The sweep of the children revealed that clan children has gone missing. All of them, bloodline users. As Naruto's eyes became sharp, he knew what the man was going to say, but he just didn't want him to. I'm sorry, but Hanabi is gone. The counter under his prosthetic hand broke. Time skip, she didn't like to be in the hospital, as Uncle rolled on her bed. She knew that Orochimaru was behind this, as she knew about the old man's condition. The whole village knew by now that he was in critical condition. People could only speculate on who did it, but she knew who it was. The door opened up as Naruto walked in, as his face was natural, like he was hiding all emotion. It was strange. She only had an occasional interaction with him, but she could see that his mask was slipping, and then reforming. Coat off, now he said. Listen kid, she said with a grin. I know the rumors about me, but if you think it's gonna be that easy, without a bit of wine and dine. But he did not react to her joke. Off, he said. As she sighed, she removed her coat, as she was in her mesh shirt. It didn't even get a blush or anything from him, he just stood there. What was she working with here, robot? As he moved around her, look on her neck. What are you doing, she asked. What does it look like? I'm examining your seal. Because Jiraiya told me when he examined years ago, he found a component inside that he could not explain. I'm here to see if it matches the enzyme that is currently turning Hokage's body into a battleground. If it does, there might be a chance I can find a way to extract it. So put your hand down, stop talking, and let me work. She lowered her hand, until she felt a sharp sting. Ow, what the hell was that? I got rid of the inhibitor seal, it was getting in the way. Uncle's eyes widened every time someone checked over a seal. None of them had ever touched Jiraiya's seal, but this kid just removed it entirely. A moment later, he clicked his teeth irritably. Not enough. I need to open it up. What do you— She winced out in pain. You know, you could have given me some notice, she said, as she looked to see black marks on her hands and her chest, and if what she felt was correct, the left side of her face as well. She was forced to endure that for a while, until Naruto pricked her with a needle. Got it, he said, as he had a purple syringe next to her. The substance inside squirmed and moved around. All real seal is now. He placed a hand on her neck, only to pause. What? Nothing. Parts of this just look familiar. Familiar how? Familiar as in I can get rid of this familiar. She hated herself for it, but despite her best efforts, she felt a bit of hope coming up in her chest. Uzumaki's were supposed to be sealing projects. She read that somewhere. The brat was some puppet master or something, and there was no way they move without some sealing. I'm not sure, he said, as a paper pressed against her neck and he turned his hand, as it spiraled back inwards, as he reapplied the sealing over it. So, she said, got everything you needed. That remains to be seen, he said. Good, she said, as she tried to punch him, but he caught her fist. Do not do that, he said. I do not like to feel like some test subject lying down. So when you come in here acting like Orochimaru 2.0, of course I'm gonna knock some sense in that noggin of yours. As his eyes narrowed even more. Do not compare me to him. Do not act like him then. What exactly do you have to be angry about right now, she asked. I'm the one that just went through a game of operation, plain as the board. As Naruto moved and smashed his face in the wall, as cracks appear everywhere. I don't have time for this. My apprentice was just stolen away, and there is that damn thing I can do about it now. And the man who kidnapped her is damn near untraceable. What I can do is find a cure for the boy that is killing the village leader. So if people just shut up and get out of my way and let me do this, I could— As he was cut off by a bell. 3 long bells through the village. As the entire village stood still for a while. That was a sign. The Hokage was dead. Time skip. As Jiraiya arrived to see Naruto, where he expected to be, in the lab, burning the midnight oil. Naruto turned, as he looked at the man who looked tired. He didn't seem upbeat. After all, he just lost his sensei. As one of the greatest shinobi to ever live, died in a hospital bed like an old man. From poison, that was the way to go out. As Naruto realized it was night by now, it was midnight. He didn't even saw the time that was going by. Tell me that you're not still working on the antidote. No, I finished that hours ago. Still too late to save the Hokage, but his pride would not stop him from going through it. He found out what he needed to block to restrict it from absorbing natural energy. 47 minutes. That was the difference between Sarutobi living and dying. Why torture yourself like that? The knowledge that his sensei could have lived if he had moved faster, that would just burn him and weigh him down. Naruto did not answer. He looked back over at his notes. As he looked over Naruto's shoulder, I recognize those sealed notes anywhere. If you're trying to remove Orochimaru's seal, You will be working more than one all-nighter. He should know, he took weeks on it, the first time he got his hands on it, as Naruto made a copy of it when he had uncles open up. I'm not trying to remove it, said Naruto, as he gestured to a part that caused Jiraiya the most trouble. I'm trying to figure out why this part seems so familiar. Can't help you there. While I focus about the practical part, explosive, and all that when it comes to sealing, Orochimaru was focused on the abstract. And that is how he described the cursed seal, because no matter what function he explored it at, the thing made no sense at all. Did I ask for your help, Naruto asked, as one of his clones came to the window and placed on a stack of paper. Jiraiya knew that look. He worn it after he heard about the monkey attack and the Kyuubi. It was the look of someone who's going to work until they felt the exhaustion. He also knew, if the kid was like him, there was that damn thing he could say that could break him out fit. What's that? Naruto glanced towards Jiraiya and realized that he was not going to leave. Various Fuinjutsu Shiki I've collected over the years, that I haven't had time to examine fully, or deem unimportant. Wait, said Jiraiya, go back, what's that one? One of his seals, our ancestor's body, said Naruto. The one that connected him by the socket. I thought that it was some kind of interface at the time, but I couldn't tell what exactly it did. As Naruto placed it down right beside a copy of Uncle's cursed seal, as he turned his eyes at the two of them. It's not identical, said Jiraiya, but see there, that kanji. It's between conscious and subconscious molding, but it's been altered, it's like interface. But between what and what? No, I've seen this before, said Naruto. As he went through his notebook, it is sort of like the seals, theorized, the store for medical teams by the second Hokage. He was trying to work out the interface between the spiritual half of the body to bypass the healing limit when normal. Cell regeneration stimulated. If you remember right, Tsunade went on to create something similar like this. As Jiraiya was surprised, he didn't know that Naruto was that far. So you're saying that Orochimaru is trying to store spiritual engine inside the seals? It made sense if Senjutsu was involved. Sage art was hard to draw in. So, if the seals could do that himself, Orochimaru would have an army of unstoppable monsters at his call. Except, most curse mark users were unstable. No, said Naruto. If he was trying to contain something that dangerous, he would need more than that. As Jiraiya's eyes went wide. That bastard, he said. He couldn't have. Wait, yes, if he used that. As he slammed his hands on the table, with an angry look in his eye. I got you this time, bastard, he said. But guys, if you enjoyed this episode right here, what's the next part of this or not to do? Like, subscribe, comment, number one, turn bell notifications they posted. But I'm over now. See you guys soon. Peace.